As time goes on, the youngest generation always does things different. So whoever comes after us, they'll probably be having the same conversation of we do things differently.
Yeah, I feel like every generation you're gonna have like those key differences and just kind of like arguments over, who's right, who's wrong, whose perspective, is correct and how we should live. With that kind of like in mind, there are a couple key differences that, according to studies, are different between like millennial and Gen Z. So we'll hop into some of those.
I tell it like it is, but I always make it nice.
Putting the boss in boss babe.
One thing about me, I'm going to ask the right questions.
Just know, I always say what needs to be said.
I'm Bria.
I'm Sydney.
I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Shayla, and this is For Your Information Podcast. Woo! How is everybody doing today?
I'm fine. No complaints. I'm glad the weather is better and sunny.
Same here.
Same. It's nice and sunny. It's consistently sunny. So we're good.
All right. Consistently sunny.
Emotionally, seasonally, everything. It's been good though.
That's good.
Well, everybody's doing good. That's lovely. Today we're talking about the Gen Z versus Millennial debate. Where do we fall? Ladies, are you team Millennials or are you team Gen Z?
I'm team Gen Z per.
I'm team whatever we figure out at the end of the day, because but I have been told I am Gen Z, so we're gonna see.
Was previously against Gen Z, but I'm now team Gen Z. Fully and firmly.
I don't know. I'm probably team Millennial. I'm the old head of the group. No worries.
So, according to Kasasa.com, Gen Z was born between 1997 and 2012. Millennials, aka Gen Y, are born between 1981 and 1994 or 1996, depending on what you're looking at. So, we are actually Gen Z. That's what the facts say, and we only go by the facts. How do you feel about that, ladies?
Like I said, like I was previously against it. I just thought like, who are these immature little kids? Like, how do we relate to like these elementary school kids and stuff like that? But I don't know. I feel like now that we're a bit older and we're coming into what we want our lives to look like, I think we're a little more Gen Z leaning than millennial. What about y'all?
Totally agree with Sydney. It's like, because when you initially think of Gen Z, you think of 13-year-olds doing TikToks and dancing, and you're just like, what?
Or like when the Tide Pod challenge was happening.
Yes, like you're just like all this random stuff on YouTube you don't know about, challenges, new songs. I'm just like, but when you get into like the technical parts, I guess we're Gen Z, but my heart is with millennials. It's okay though, it's okay. What about y'all?
You, Bria, on a technicality, we are Gen Z, but I feel like my birthday being so close to January, it's January 12th. It's the start of the year, 98. So I'm literally straddling the millennial fence, which is why, I feel like I kind of fit in with them.
96 was the cutoff for millennials. So even if you were born in 97, you would still be Gen.
Rebecca said only facts today.
we go by the facts. We report the facts. Feelings do not matter. Facts do.
Well, technically, I'm a Gen Z, but my heart is with the millennials. Y'all got my support.
That.
How about you,
I
Rebecca?
am Gen Z, and my heart is with Gen Z. I always like to be new and innovative side of things. And growing up, I thought millennials were kind of the new and innovative side of things because, as kids, you really don't have much thought about the world or much influence over how you do things. So they were the big kids, the young adults, the college students when we were kids. So I thought, they were the cool ones. And so then as I got older, I realized, oh, okay, I think they started the foundation of doing things differently, but we're the ones who actually picked it up and started doing things differently, which makes sense because as time goes on, the youngest generation always does things differently. So whoever comes after us, they'll probably be having the same conversation of we do things differently.
Yeah,
So
I feel like every generation you're gonna have like those key differences and just kind of like arguments over, who's right, who's wrong, whose perspective, is correct and how we should live. With that kind of like in mind, there are a couple key differences that, according to studies, are different between like millennial and Gen Z. So we'll hop into some of those. And the first one is realistic versus optimistic. So do you feel that millennials and Gen Z, like which one's more realistic and which one's more optimistic?
I think Gen Z, it depends on what the situation is. I think Gen Z is more realistic about things when it comes to critiquing old systems and practices, but I think they're optimistic about human nature because I also think that's because, Gen Z, we're like the oldest of Gen Z and we're only in our early 20s. So right now we've seen quite a bit, but we haven't interacted with enough of the world and of people to understand that human nature is human nature. People are people. You can expect the best, but you may not get the best out of people. So I think it depends on what we're dealing with. When it comes to like systems and the way of basically systems and society, I think we're more realistic than optimistic.
I kind of agree too. I think it does depend on what we're thinking about. Because like when you think about systems, I think Gen Z is a bit more realistic in our understanding of like what's happening. Just because, well, let me preface this with I think that at a younger age we're exposed to more information about what's going on in the world, which kind of sets that realistic tone for okay, this is how history actually went versus just like basing facts off of what we're told and taught. So I think that's one way that we're more realistic. But I do think that it just depends on what you're talking about because I think we do have some traits that are also kind of like optimistic, thinking about how can humans be better? How can the world be better? Can we have a better climate? Like that kind of thing. Like we're optimistic in that sense. But I think if we have to differentiate and like choose between the two, the Gen Z is a little more realistic, and then millennials are a bit more optimistic. And I say that just because, like, if you think about media in the early 2000s, like you would have like that token Black character, and that was seen as like, okay, this is like record breaking. We're changing everything now. And like when you think about representation now and different things, we realize, okay, that's not really like it wasn't really a huge change, and like we still have a ways to go. So that's kind of my take. I don't know, Shayla and Bria.
I feel like mine is a little different from y'all, but it's kind of weird to explain. Like, I feel like it's kind of a mix because, like y'all is saying, like everything, like we have more representation, more diversity. Like we've been in situations like in real lifetimes, and like Gen Z has kind of been like a catapult for that. Like we've the forefront and like have changed things. But I feel like we are the generation of being super optimistic. Like we want these bigger things. It's like, oh, we can have that. We can do this. We can do that. We can do that. It's just like maybe morally of what society is used to. They're probably like, these kids, like y'all think y'all can do that. And it's like we're slowly trying to break those barriers and making it more realistic. But I feel like a lot of our thoughts and what we think is just super obtainable and tangible is very optimistic of us, if that makes sense.
Do you think it's optimistic or idealistic though?
I was about to ask the same thing.
Yeah.
Low key, I would say, I would say more optimism because I feel like some things are ideal and it's like, yes, this would be like the perfect like scenario of what we want. But I feel like I say it's more optimism because we just have, and this is a good thing. Like we just have more of like we don't have a pessimistic view when it comes to things versus I feel like millennials do. But I feel like it's more optimistic. It's like some things I feel like we just have. I don't want to say too much courage behind and just like behind, but I just feel like for me personally, I don't think it's that realistic. It's more optimistic in a scenario. Like I don't feel like it's. But that could just be me and how I was raised, and I was raised around older people, so it's probably just my mindset and everything. But that's just me personally.
Ray, you bring up a good point because I was raised around like older people too, so that might kind of shift or what like make my mindset. But like me personally, I definitely feel like Gen Z is full of optimism, which is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Be full of optimism. I think millennials though are more realistic, where it's like they can see something and it's like, all right, this is not it. Whereas not millennials, Gen Z, they're going to be like, oh, okay, like rainbows, butterflies, like let's just make the best of it. Like let's just make this something and get a couple likes and blah 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 blah. Like that to me is like the Gen Z optimism, whereas millennials a little bit more straightforward.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's because maybe they're older. Of course, they have more like they're wiser and they have more knowledge and experience, and it's like that. But I literally agree with Shayla, like in that sense.
Carry on. That said, there are a couple other traits that are seen as like differences between Gen Z and millennial. We have private versus public. So who do you think is more private and who do you think is more public?
That's hard.
I don't know why. I just feel like Gen Z is more public. Maybe because I feel like young people we're just like sporadic and we say anything and do anything. So I feel like we're more public. But I feel like it could be in a better, like for the betterment of people, because I feel like, for example, when we had like the Me Too movement on Twitter, like people were coming forward talking about the situation. So I feel like us being public is kind of a good thing in some sorts. Sometimes, you know, people take it overboard, they have like their little ways, but I feel like we are more public, but it's for a better cause from majority of the part, from my perspective. And I feel like millennials, they're real private. Sometimes, you know, we're talking about a shady level. Millennials will not try to help you out, okay? Like Gen Z, we're telling you where this is from, how to get this job. You know, people have threads on Twitter about X, Y, and Z. Millennials will be like, girl, get out the mud, okay, and come back and tell me how you got it. So I feel like millennials are definitely more private.
Yeah, I think Gen Z is a bit more public just because like the nature, like we grew up with the internet, we grew up with like having Facebook, having MySpace in some cases, having like different channels to express ourselves and like share our opinions and things like that, and also like connect with like different parts of the world and different ideas. So in that sense, I think Gen Z is more public, but I think we do have more awareness of like how to act on the internet slightly. I know there are pockets where like we can still be wild, but I think we're still more cognizant of like the issue of privacy and online privacy more so than like millennials were when they were first like getting introduced to the internet. Like we're not, I mean, we still talk to strangers online, but I think there was like, it was different back in the day. You're on some shady website and talking to some random person. And not that doesn't happen now, but I think there's like it's different people.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sydney. I feel Sydney and Bria, I think that Gen Z is a lot more public because like nowadays everything that we do or that Gen Z does is to be put on social media. Like, oh, if I'm going out to eat, or oh, if I'm looking good, let me take a picture so I can post it. Like, it's not like, oh, let me just do this because this is what I'm doing. It's like, let me take it and post it. Whereas millennials kind of have that, I'm gonna do something and chances are I'm having a good time, so you don't need to be seeing this anyway.
I have this question for you all. So back when millennials were, I guess you would say teenagers, about to become adults in the world, the reality show boom was everywhere, right? Think Jersey Shore, the Keeping Up with the Kardashians. It seemed like every celebrity couple had a show. Whereas with us, you know, with them, it was something new to them when they were, I guess, teenagers. Whereas us, you know, we grew up seeing reality shows, reality TV has always been a thing. So do you think that has more of an influence on the way we are publicly online or the way millennials are publicly online?
Probably us, because you know, one thing I will say about Gen Z, like we see things and we'll take it in and then we will attempt to try and like do our own thing and either make it better. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But with like social media stuff, like we got that on lock. Like social media, reality TV, like now you see people getting on these shows and they're getting up there just to have that be like a jump start to some other career. So like they're capitalizing off of it a lot more than millennials.
Mm-hmm. I think we are more public, but also more internet savvy, pointing to
Absolutely.
Sydney's point of like, we can spot something from a mile away that's fishy. Like if we're talking to a stranger online, we acknowledge that I do not know who this is, versus I feel like with older generations, they can speak to somebody online and not take it at face value. Like for example, you don't really see Gen Z people on Catfish.
I was literally gonna say that. And I feel like because we're more tech savvy, like we use FaceTime, like we use Zoom, like we use things where it's like, oh, just hop on. And like even
Right.
There's no, my camera's broken.
Yeah, like you can send a Snapchat, you can send an Instagram post, like you can do so much to the point where it's like if you're fake, we kind of know. So
Right.
it's like these old folks. I call you
But-
old, but
That's a really good point. Like it brings up the question of like digital natives versus digital pioneers and like who's who. I think we kind of know like millennials were growing up during that time, so they're kind of, well, actually, I don't know. Are we kind of pioneering the space, or do you see us as more natives?
I feel like we're pioneers. Like, we're like setting the path of like
Yeah,
things should go. Where it's like, hey, like we're teaching how to use this, how to capitalize off of this. Because think about it, millennials grew up in the YouTube time. Because most of like the Jackie Inas are in that millennial age. It's like, okay, at first, like, YouTube was cool. Jackie had her little videos. I was watching her in middle school, high school. But it's like now, the YouTubers that are getting on this year, last year, they have 200,000 subscribers in months. Like, they're making big profit off
And the OG YouTubers are getting off of YouTube.
Exactly. Like, they're trying to transition to Instagram. Like, they're trying to get more social media presence because they were just popping on YouTube. So it's like, we're pioneers in this game because people, look at the little Instagram models. They're going from having 100,000 followers on Instagram, getting on YouTube, having another 100,000 career just off being an influencer. Like it's just the time to be an internet savvy baby, and that's good for us.
Yeah, I feel like we're both. I think we're pioneers and natives. Like we're natives in the sense that we already know the technology. Kids come out the womb knowing phones and tablets and everything. So like it's native. However, we're pioneers in the sense that we're taking it and we're making it better and we're like getting more innovative with it. So it's definitely both to me.
I think we are once again both pioneers and natives. Pioneers in the sense that we aren't scared to try something new on the internet. So like we were having this conversation before we started recording. It was speaking of like low paying summer jobs or unpaid internships. It's like, okay, this is how things were done in the past, but why would I waste this time doing all this labor, not getting paid or getting paid pennies, where I can go start a YouTube channel, start a blog, get on Depop and make my own coin. It's I'm not acknowledging that, but like we see the internet as a land of endless opportunity. Even if something's already done, you can do something else with it. Now monetizing, you hear that word everywhere. So I think pioneers, both pioneers mostly.
I kind of agree with all of the stuff you guys just said. I think, yeah, we grew up in the time where like we were already around technology, already around like the internet and stuff like that. They're even saying now that some kids, like young kids, are learning how to type before they know how to write. So that's definitely something that like we're in there, it's native to us. But I think we're going beyond that and just like diving into, okay, how can we use this to further our lives? How can we use this to shape the lives that we want? And how can we make this a tool that we use versus a tool that like shapes us, like thinking about how social media could shape our perspective on the world versus how we can shape the world through social media. So I think those all kind of make us more digital pioneers than digital natives. But that said, we do spend a lot of time online, or do we spend a lot of time online? Are we more face-to-face or more digitally oriented?
Like Gen Z?
Yeah, or Gen Z or millennials, which one's more face-to-face and which one's more?
Gen Z, screen babies. Millennials,
screen
face-to-face.
Not even like to piggyback off of Shayla. I feel like millennials, like even my teachers, they're like, oh yeah, meeting my friend and go to happy hour. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And like, I literally have my friends now, like even before COVID, where it's just like, oh yeah, me and my friends are gonna just FaceTime. Or like when group FaceTime came out, I was like, oh my God, we're gonna be in a group chat. We're gonna group FaceTime. Like, I feel like we're not as pressed to just go up and hang out and go to a coffee shop like we may with like, a small group of friends. But you're not like, girl, okay, so all four of us gonna meet. We're gonna go to happy hour. We're gonna do this. Like, it's more of like, I'll text them. We'll FaceTime. We'll have a little chat. We're definitely more digital, and even we're gonna touch something real quick. In the dating aspect, it's very much digital. Out on formal dates.
Just want to text all day. Text. What are you doing? Get on my phone. That's what I'm doing.
Literally, they want to FaceTime you, lay up on this, go to sleep on the phone, but don't want to take you on a date face to face. So we're definitely digital.
But you know what? The millennial men aren't any better. They're not any better when it comes to that.
They're not. They're not. Do better, men. Y'all do better.
Right. As a whole. Like
I didn't I had a different opinion before I heard Bria say that, because I didn't think about how we are quick to say, let's hop on FaceTime or let's hop on a group Zoom versus I'm gonna come see you. I feel like I'm gonna come see you or I'm gonna come visit you is more so reserved for closer knit relationships. So that's interesting that you say that. But I was gonna say, I think that now people prefer face-to-face since we've been so deprived of face-to-face interaction. I think after the pandemic is over, I think this summer it's gonna start, like people are gonna start taking a lot more social media breaks, maybe leaving it permanently, because that's all we've had. Whereas before, hopping on FaceTime, falling asleep on FaceTime, which I always thought was weird, but falling asleep on FaceTime was an option, was like an option you chose, versus in the last year or so, that's all we had. So I think right now and before times, yes, we are more so digital only, but I think after this, we're going to be a face-to-face group of people.
Definitely that we'll want to have like more interactions in the real world and like with each other, person to person. But I think like overall, that's more of a symptom or like effects of the pandemic versus like what's inherent and not inherent. But like
that's a good point.
Overall, kind of like characteristics. I think even if you think about the pandemic, like our generation or Gen Z was able to kind of transition online faster than like older generations or millennials, and like it was more natural. I mean, of course there are hiccups and like there are different effects of being online, but I think it was like an easier transition because we were more reliant on like FaceTime, group FaceTime, that kind of thing. That said, I think it's also kind of funny, even within our digital usage, I think we're even more, I don't know, it's different, because like originally when I was thinking about this question, I had a different take on it, because I was like, okay, are we more likely to pick up the phone or FaceTime somebody? Which I feel like FaceTime is more face-to-face than like digital only, but like technically it's still technology, so we're more likely to FaceTime, I feel like. But overall, I agree. We're kind of more digital only, digitally facing.
So as we see, we all kind of have different takes and perspectives on a lot of things versus Gen Z and millennials. But you all feel free to let us know what y'all think we are, what y'all are. Let us know if you're millennials, you're Gen Z. If you agree with us, you don't agree with us. Let us know your opinion and how you feel on that. But before we close off the week and the little recording and podcast, we will always touch on our thing of the week. So, although at the beginning of this recording, I was kind of against Gen Z, my thing of the week kind of came from TikTok, which is basically very important in Gen Z. So like there's this challenge called the Smile Challenge, and the song is by WizKid. So my thing of the week is Smile by WizKid, because I'm obsessed with Afro beats. I'm obsessed with the song. I'm obsessed with the challenge, and y'all should all listen to it because it's a great song. What about y'all?
My thing of the week is this book I got from the thrift store last week, actually, called The Happiness Project.
That
And
sounds good.
it's a really good book. I highly recommend it. I am not a fan of self-help or self-improvement books that are just like, just think positive, work hard, and you will be the best you can be in life. I like tangible steps. And so this book is basically about this woman's quest to become a happier person. And she does a lot of research, includes a lot of research in the book about how exercise can make you happy because the chemicals that it releases, how making friends makes you happy, tells you how to make friends, scientifically. I'm about halfway through the book, so I'm not sure what comes next, but I like it because it has tangible steps on how to become a happier person and therefore make you more resilient to change and hardship, which I think is something we can all learn how to deal with better from all the hardship that we have endured as individuals and a collective this year. So the Happiness Project.
That sounds good, Rebecca. My thing of the week is Hip Hop Uncovered. It's a show on Hulu. It's a great show. They talk about how like the early days of hip hop and how you kind of had to have that like street connection to get you where you needed to be, get you in the door. And I was just here for all of that. So Hip Hop Uncovered on Hulu.
Is actually just chai tea. That's it.
That's it.
I love chai tea.
I got back into I was obsessed with chai tea for like the longest time, and I think I just got sick of it because I was drinking it too much. But I recently rediscovered it, and it's been amazing. Drinking it every day.
The simple things.
Thank you, Sydney. I'm definitely going to.
But yeah, keeping it simple.
We love the simple things.
Well, guys, let us know your things of the week. We'll definitely upload this video, leave a comment, subscribe, and like. Let us know what y'all feel about Generation Z and Millennials, and definitely let us know your thing of the week. And we will see y'all next week, guys. Bye.
Yes.
Bye.